Nate here with the Kai Studio, and today we'll be discussing the robot faction within Modifius Entertainment's Fallout Wasteland Warfare. Now, within Fallout's universe, there's a lot of robots, and they don't all follow Asimov's laws. In pre war America, the robotics industry was moving at full speed, producing products ranging from robotic butlers, robotic police officers, to roving heavy weapon platforms whose sole purpose is to annihilate anything in front of it. Almost all industries were affected by this robotic revolution. As you explore the games, you get to see how much of this is true. Protectrons come in all roles, along with Mr. Handy's, replacing many jobs. That did in part lead to civil unrest. Due to the mass production, widespread usage, it's why, after 200 plus years, there's still many of them roaming around, slowly developing logic errors, causing subroutines that were never meant to be running so long, causing failures in the programming. Now, some of them have been restored by various factions and survivors to assist in the harshness of the wasteland. Or many have become dangers, and some of them are just rusting away, waiting to be found. I will be leaving out named robots, as they will be covered in the unit list and the missing unit section of the video. I will also, for the most part, be leaving out any computer systems as well. But if people would like, I could do a video down the line discussing those wondrous machines. But I really just want to focus on basically the units that are available, what games they appear in, and kind of, how to play the faction. I'm going to first go over a brief lore dump and which robots show up where and kind of how their roles fit. I feel like that's kind of important to understanding how their roles will affect the tabletop. So, starting off, Fallout 1. It is within Fallout 1 we get our first taste of the robotic menace, and it's here where you get a bit of that 1950s, 1960s futurism. You have the floating Eyebot, the classic Mr. Handy, and that General Atomics nightmare fuel that is the Robo Brain. Yes, I am aware that now Robco was involved within its testing and development, but that all said, all three of these robots do feel like they come straight from the pages of Pulp Fiction, and they would evolve over the course of the series. The Eyebot would get an overall makeover when the game transitioned to 3D into the flying Eyebot that now truly embraces the name Eyebot. The Eyebot's role within Fallout has been that mostly as a recon element, messengers, security bots, and spreaders of propaganda from their built-in speakers. The Eyebot would be one of the main robots produced by Robco and Mr. House. And with the amount that you encounter within the games, yeah, the Lucky 38 and him having his own missile defense system makes a lot more sense. I mean, Mr. House partly reminds me of St. Cloud from the Venture Bros and his famous line, well, besides Quiz Boy, but the one money when he's joining the Guild of Clandestine Intent. I don't think I do those voices that well, but let's get back to the Eyebot. It's mostly seen with former military installations and government locales, and places like West Tech, which you really don't want to go to Mariposa. um, I mean, this would actually lead to the Eyebot, often associated with the Enclave. Who could forget the Eyebots roaming the capital wasteland, broadcasting the words of John Henry Eden? The Mr. Handy would also go through a bit of a change. It would go from having a minigun, a weapon now more associated with the rolling gun turret that is the Sentry Bot, to more of a buzzsaw, flamer, and grabbing claw. While the lore going as far back as the first Fallout, they were always the robotic butlers that could be used in military roles. They kind of look like a floating trash can in the first couple of games. It's within Fallout 3 you see it change to the now more familiar three-eyed, three-armed robot. I've always found this transition from a warbot to a household appliance rather kind of cool. The Mr. Handy would be manufactured by General Atomics International, making this one of the more popular robots within pre-war America. It came in many different models. The three primary versions are the Mr. Gutsy, made for the military, which is slightly psychotic, Miss Nanny, made for the medical field, sorry, I kind of stalled out there, and childcare. And then, well, you have the standard humble model, Mr. Handy. Which, man, you really do run into a lot of them. Looking back at the franchise and how things have been adjusted as time goes on, I partly wonder if in Fallout 1, um, they would be Mr. Gutsies if the game was made now instead of the standard Mr. Handsy. But who knows? There, there might be a Mr. Handy janitor bot within Mariposa with the task to mop up the floors, running back and forth, cleaning the FEV, atomic ash, and dirt covered floors. Man, that's a job I would not want to have. Now, as for the Robo Brain, they're defined much more of that of a cyborg than that of a robot. It is a nightmarish form of a machine controlled by an organic brain. That's right, it uses a living brain for their central control and processing unit. The brain is stored in a glass like bowl on top of the unit, in a fluid that is meant to keep the brain functioning and healthy with regular upkeep and maintenance. But there was an atomic war, and the robo-brain was flawed even before the war. They had a tendency to develop extreme levels of aggression and violent tendencies. Just think how years of isolation and no maintenance would affect them. Yeah, you got it. And it would be within Fallout 2. We would get introduced into the Robco Sentry Bot, the mobile gun turrets built to kill everything before it. In Fallout 2, it actually walks around on 2 feet, unlike how they would appear in later games, and how most people now view them. It is in these later games it would have a bit of a redesign. The redesign would now be mounted on tank-like treads attached to three legs. But no matter the game, their armaments never changed. Missile launchers and miniguns, rolling around the wasteland, packing some serious heavy firepower. Luckily enough, rarely are they encountered randomly. Due to the nature of the robot, it is mostly found within military installations, government bunkers, and the like. They also can be seen within the Enclave and the Brotherhood of Steel, which, when you consider the origins of that factions, it makes sense. Who else would have a military robot besides the factions that are formed from the former U.S. military and government? And now moving on to Fallout 3 and New Vegas. Now, I'm choosing to group Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas together as there wasn't that many robots added in. Yes, I know. The Mr. Gutsy was introduced and a few other things were added in. But as I mentioned in talking about in Fallout 1 robots, it's just a new version of the Mr. Handy. But within Fallout 3, this is where we get to see kind of a new robot. I like to call it the Humble Robot, aka the Humble Protectron. It is within this game we see it used in various roles, most notably as station attendees within the underground metro that crisscrossed the capital wasteland. Who can forget that? Ticket, as it lumbered slowly towards you, arms waving. We do know that they were used by the military in part due to the Enclave using them in various other locations they seem to be. They are also secondly most common robot that I recall you running into. I could swear that you ran into them the most, besides the iBots obviously going John Henry Eden here. Um, but you do actually run into them within the Pit DLC, where they're used for other things than just being a metro ticket attendant and a military unit. And it kind of hints. This is the first hint where we get that the Batectron series is being used to replace human workers. We see it in the factories of the pit and the steel works of the pit. And one can see this on a commentary on the industrialization and automation of the American industry in the 70s and leading up to the 80s. And it would be very assuming that in this pre-war America, this would be taking place. Also, I want to add something in about the Protectrons. Is it me, or do they look like Robbie the Robot, or the Danger Will Robinson robot? I mean, they really, really, really do. Now, within Fallout New Vegas, we'd be introduced into two robots. One of them being the awesome Securitron, made by, well, surprise, surprise, Robert House once again. These were developed pre-war for his personal use. Their primary function was for the defense of Las Vegas, its name at the time, and were to keep order should the atomic war take place. But they were running on the Mark I operating system, not fully complete, waiting for the chip to upgrade their operating systems. And his defense overall needed that chip to become complete, and it never arrived. And then a lone male person, known only as Courier 6, brings it to him, allowing for the Securitrons to be upgraded to Mark II, giving them access to all of their weaponry, a better targeting system, and overall a better operating system. Depending on the player's choices, these can be an outstanding ally or a foe that requires some serious, high quality firepower. These have actually shown up currently in the like season of Fallout the TV show. Though it is Victor, which I gotta admit, I'm super happy about it because who doesn't like Victor? I mean, I know there's a few people that don't. I actually have a former roommate that really didn't like him. But like, it's Victor, man. Victor's that I'm here to help you, but I'm actually setting you into a deep dark hole that you're never going to come out of because, well, that's my programming. Be warning of strangers. But now, when you do travel to the Big Mountain, or BMT, you face a new robot. A robot that has sadly only showed up there, and of course I'm talking about the Robo Scorpion and the giant Robo Scorpion. These honestly really do feel like something pulled from a comic book or from the Venture Bros. Um, and like they're only in Big Mountain, which I kind of feel is a shame because I just like the idea of a robotic robot, something out of a comic book. Um, but at the same time, unlike a few other man-made horrors that you face in the base game, these things did not leave Big Mountain, which I gotta admit, the Cazadors and Night Stalkers are enough. Now, let's move on to Fallout 4. Within Fallout 4, they introduce us yet again to a new robot, the Assaultron, which I gotta admit, the first time I saw one, and due to how easy it was to kill that first Deathclaw in the game, I was like, okay, this'll be easy. Well, nope, I was wrong. That head laser cooked me. I actually really liked them as enemies. The use of the Stealth Boy and that is charging at you all the way, getting that late head laser primed up so it can zap you. Man, I really enjoyed the challenge that they provided, as I found a lot of the enemies kind of lacking in Fallout 4. That might have been the build I played, but it's just kind of how I felt. And again, this is another Robco murder machine. They've really do make majority of the robots inside of the Fallout universe, but then again, it makes sense. Their name is Robco. It is also within Fallout 4 where we see, and basically it's confirmed that many jobs have been replaced with Tectrons, making the dystopian nature of pre-war America even more abundant. Like, you really get the sense of why the civil unrest was taking place before the bombs dropped. I mean, it wasn't just police losing their jobs, it wasn't just factory workers, but it was basically you name it. And there's a protectron for that role, which, you know, uh, maybe placement of things with AI might not be the best idea. Who knows? It should also be stated that if you really like robots in the Fallout setting, Fallout 4 has a great DLC for robots, and I mostly use a robot companion more than anyone else, well, besides Nick Valentine. And it's this DLC that added in the Rust Devils, which are kind of my favorite Raider gang, besides one of them in Nuka World, which I'll be discussing at a later point. And the junk robots get added in. Now, junk robots, I'm not really going to go into detail, but basically they're just cobbled together robots using skulls and various other parts. They kind of look like they were put together by the orcs in 40K, but moving right along. We'll be now discussing the robots that show up in Fallout 76. So, it's in Fallout 76 that we're not really introduced into a lot of new robots, per se. You know, unlike how Fallout 4 introduced us into the Assaultron, Fallout 3, the Protectron, Fallout 2 with the Sentry Bot. That said, we do get the, and I really hope I'm pronouncing this right, Sheep Squatch Impersonator, which is just an Assaultron with like a cryptid's outfit on, which is, I mean, it's kind of cool, but like that's not really like a new robot. That's like a legendary robot. But you do get these kind of annoying Liberator robots. They were deployed to the U.S. via China before the bombs dropped. Um, they are hard to deal with depending on the player. I know the first couple times I ran into them when I was playing 76, man, I got murdered by them. I'm not gonna lie. Like, they're supposed to be a relatively, like, easy thing, but man, are they just, I don't know if I was just playing the game bad. And I mean, that's a very good chance. But, you know, when in doubt, buckshot is always the answer to deal with them. All right, and now let's focus on the faction itself. Now that we got the little bit of the lore out of the way, you know, that brief, quick lore overview and which robots show up where covered, let's get into what everyone's here for, the robot faction within Fallout Wasteland Warfare. Now, unlike other factions, you don't really have the assigned, like, true leader, like with super mutants, you want to take the Overlord, with the Enclave, you want to take one of the officers with the Brotherhood, you're going to take a Paladin. But what's really cool about this faction is you get to pick essentially your own leader. And as you can see here, the robot faction rules are pretty simple. The leader must have the robot controller ability. That's number one. Number two, apart from the leader, the force may only include robots. So if you pick a raider as your leader, you cannot take any raiders but robots. Also, with this part, the robot faction, when you're playing as a force, may not include robots of a different faction than that of assigned of the leader. Um, so if you take a raider scaver, for example, you cannot take Edie, as it has the survivor faction keyword. But a force that's led by Courier 6 slash the Courier can take Edie, as he also has the survivor faction keyword. I really like this, and overall, I think this is kind of cool because you get to represent so many things within the game itself. You know, let's say you want to play the Rust Devils, even though they don't have rules. Well, pick a raider you like and the unit card you like, make them your leader, give them the robot controller leader ability, then just pick away which robots you like. Maybe take a few battered ones, which I'll explain in later, or take some regular ones. Now, let's say you want to represent someone in Nuka World that was overseeing the robots for its defense before the raiders showed up. Get a survivor and robot perk You go. Same thing with doing a Brotherhood of Steel scribe that commands the chapter's robot. Or what about maybe playing the Brotherhood of Steel outcasts as seen in Fallout 3? You can even do something wild. What if you want to have a super mutant that was a part of the Master's army that, due to being a prime normal, as the lieutenant calls them, kept their intelligence and recalled on how to maintain and repair robots? Yeah, take a Nightkin if you really want to do this to represent, the Master's elite forces, and again, that handy dandy robot perk. There's so much with this ability, and I overall find it so super fun to do. Like, you can just create your own force. You can truly create your own story outside of that just playing the Brotherhood of Steel, playing the Enclave, playing this. Now, you can take robots within the Enclave, and you can take them with inside of the Brotherhood of Steel and limited factions. But this is kind of where you get to go nuts and you really get to have fun. And I really think this is one of the coolest things that Modifius did for Wasteland Warfare. And no, I'm not just saying this because I love Robbie the Robot. I just really think that the flexibility and freedom that's available to the list building options is something that a lot of war games are kind of lacking at the moment. You see that in games like certain games that are set in a grim dark future where you don't really able to custom characters like you used to be able to. But, you know, overall, it's such a cool ability. Now, speaking on kind of like how much I really like the faction rules, I think it's important to discuss the robot rules themselves. Certain units within Fallout Wasteland Warfare, via their keywords, have different abilities built in, which is something that I kind of like. And I mean, we see this with various other war games, such as Warhammer Fantasy Battle with the Swordmasters of Hoeth, how they're not limited by striking with their great weapons last. Um, all sorts of like such as that nature, or like how the dark elves in fantasy have hatred high elves. I know I'm using fantasy as a reference, but you just kind of to help create the idea. So robots, um, with no named faction, count as the same faction as the player's leader. So when you're taking a robot and let's say you're playing, the robot uh, faction, now those robots now become Raider aligned or become, you know, in their own thing, which is kind of cool. Robots now, this is a limitation, can only use cards that show the robot icon or specifically state they can be used by robots on the card or equipped by the unit's card. Robots are obviously immune to poison and radiation because, they're a robot. How is poison going to affect a mechanical machine? Now you can be like, well, Nate, clearly it can affect the robo brain because it's got a brain, but let's not get into that. Um, Damage can be removed from a robot using a robot repair kit. So they can't use stim packs, but you equip your leader with some repair kits and pop, 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 a quick repair, and it's out to go. Um, a robot may be equipped with a total of two robot weapons, two robot mods, and one non-weapon robot item. Um, so like, yeah, but like, it gives you limitations because you're also using something that's immune to poison and radiation. That's kind of a big deal. And they're actually pretty tanky because, they're a robot. Now, uh, the other thing that the robot special rule is that if a robot has weapons named on the unit card, those are the only weapons it may equip. So you are limited, but then again, like the Sentry Bot has 13 health and a ridiculous decent armor. So, you gotta balance them out somehow. Now, there's also something with robots that should be discussed. Something added in from Fallout 4 and a few other places. Robots can self-destruct. Basically, by taking damage, each unit has different rules that affect the self-destruct. But basically, how it works is when self-destruct is initiated, robots can only use movement actions for the remainder of the battle. Um, Initiating self-destruct is a trigger line of sight not required. At the end of the robot's next activation, it explodes with the following effect centered on the robot. So it has a blast radius of yellow, which does 4 damage. Um, it has 1 armor crack, 1 additional damage, and a stun when within yellow from. Sorry, not yellow. The blast radius is yellow, but when you're within the smaller blast radius of orange, it does that. And then you get a black die, yellow, and 2 yellow die. So, this thing's going to be pretty tanky, and it is obviously ballistic damage. It's not, or slash physical damage. It's not energy damage because it's a giant explosion. Now, after it explodes, it is obviously removed from the game because, well, it exploded. Now, there is some stuff with the AI mechanics, but I'm not going to cover that at this time. Just because AI is a very different way to play the game. But yeah, that's kind of the core mechanics for robots. So you have the pretty flexible faction ability, but then the robot itself is a little bit more restrictive, and then it's a fun explosion. Sentry bots are a lot of fun for that. Um, my friend Alejandro hates me when I field the Sentry Bot. Not just because it's a toting gun platform, because they know, oh no, I've got to get close to it. They play Legion predominantly, so yeah, they got to close that gap. All right, now let's go on to the different units that the faction has access to and their unit cards. So first off, in the unit section, let's discuss the Mr. Handy series. So with the Mr. Handy series, you obviously get, as you can see, the Mr. Gutsy, the Mr. Handy, and the Miss Nanny. Each one of them kind of has a different ability. I kind of like the Mr. Gutsy for more firepower effects, as he has an agility 7, much higher combat capabilities, a higher endurance. Can actually be equipped with 3 different weapons. So if you wanted to give him a Mr. Handy Buzzsaw, Mr. Handy Flamer, and a Mr. Handy Plasma Pistol, I believe that's what that one's called, you kind of get. And then after taking damage, you see if the eyes get damaged, which is kind of weird, but kind of fun. It adds a little bit of like that pump. It's a Mr. Handy. It's got 3 floating eyes. Next up, you have, as you can see, the standard Mr. Handy. This one's kind of generic. I like it because it's a good kind of catch-all for units inside of the game. It is predetermined to be equipped with the Buzzsaw and the Flamer. But then again, those are totally, like the iconic things that are most commonly associated with the Mr. Handy. Then you have the Miss Nanny. She's not that good in combat at all. She is better at hacking, built in with an intelligence of 8. But the cool part is she can actually be a field medic. She can remove 1 health from a model that is not a synth, a robot, or power armor itself. So if the power armor is damaged, it can't heal that. But the dude inside of the power armor, after the power armor is destroyed, the Miss Nanny could easily repair it. Now, as I was talking about job replacement, we travel to Nuka World, and you get 2 more versions of the Handies. This time, the Mr. Frothy Dispenser and the Mr. Frothy Server. So that's right, you could just spray people with Nuka-Cola. These actually do have a self-destruct, which is kind of cool. And they do have, a Nuka-Cola sprayer, and the other one has a Nuka-Cola sprayer and a robot swipe, so it can actually be used in combat. I kind of like the fact that they added inside of the Nuka World robots, and this is not going to be the last time we see those little guys showing up. Next, let's talk about the iBots. So, as you see here, we have Edie. Edie, my love, the best robot in probably the whole franchise, which I'm really hoping we see him in the TV show, or her in the TV show, depending. It's kind of nice because overall, the iBots really help you out with that. Okay, they're a recon unit, so they have the observer rules. Friendly units can use the iBots line of sight for charge, and react to triggers which the Guybot's aware of. So what's kind of cool is like, let's say you have, um, let's say you're playing on Enclave, right? And you have a Tesla trooper behind a metal grate, and it cannot see the super mutant that's on the other side. But your iBot can direct line of sight to it. Boop, it sends that signal to the Tesla trooper, and boom, it's engaged, which I really like. Something I also find kind of interesting is with ED itself, it's actually a little bit more combat efficient with melee attacks, which is kind of odd. But overall, the Perception 8 for the iBot laser and the iBot Tesla cannon for both ED and the standard iBot is pretty good. They're pretty solid with shooting. What's also kind of cool is that ED actually gets around stealth boys. Well, not completely, but the penalty to attack engaged models with a stealth boy is -2 instead of, I believe it's the normal -4. So Edie is really able to contribute to it, but Edie is also a legendary character, and can only be fielded in a robot faction if you are choosing to use a survivor character as your leader. Next up, we have the Protectron series. Now, the Protectrons are not the best at combat, but they're fun. At least I think so. And this is the first time we see the battered robot version. So they just have a hand laser, which is not overly impressive. They're not great in combat. I mean, but you know what? They're fun. I like using upgrades on them, so they're more of a buffer, and just something to put on an objective and go, hi, I have 7 health, I have 4 armor against physical, and then I got 3 for energy. Like, I mean, these guys are kind of durable. What's kind of cool is they do have the self-destruct, but on these, you have to test when it's below 50%, which isn't as great. But you know, it's still fun. And if you notice here at the battered robot, and this would be kind of like what you'd see in like a Rust Devils group or something around the lines of, you know, exploring the wasteland. Oh, look, it's a damaged robot that's not completely working. Or, you know, if you need points to be saved somehow, battered robot is the way to go. And I always say points, but I actually mean caps, because that's what this game uses. You can definitely tell I played Warhammer for a long time. And you know, I mean, it's a Protectron. Now, what's kind of cool is you also have various different Protectrons. As I mentioned earlier when talking about the units, you have the Police Protectron, the Fire Brigade, and the Utility Protectron, representing ones that took, you know, the jobs or assisting them. The Police Protectron's actually a little bit more combat functional, with the Perception of 5 for its guns and energy. It does have a better health system, so it starts the game with 2 additional hardened armor points. So, you know, it's armor +1 for that first turn, and armor +1 for the second. So for the first 2 shots, it's got pretty decent armor. You'll see the same thing with the Fire Brigade. What's kind of cool is it can, it's actually kind of immune to fire, which is great. Downside is, by the way, Protectrons cannot climb, so they're just kind of, you know, Danger Will Robinson walking around the battlefield. But then again, I mean, let's be honest, you can't really see a Protectron going up ladder, even inside the game. I mean, they barely go up steps, because, well, they walk a little goofy. And then you have the utility guy. He's not bad. He's got the best strength out of all of them, and probably the best close combat ability. Yes, he actually has the best close combat ability with an agility of 3. Ugh, that's not the best. But you know what though? Hey, you want to represent your force using, you know, repair bots, or you're doing a encounter where there's like, you know, you're both groups are trying to raid a construction site, and they run in on a utility, a couple utility Protectrons using the AI mechanics that are within Fallout Wasteland Warfare. You can have a lot of fun there. I've used, again, as I said, the standard Protectron model more than anything else, just because I kind of think they're fun. And again, as I said earlier, I really like Roby the Robot, and I like the robot from, oh my god, I can't think of the name now. Lost in Space. Wasn't that kind of funny there for a second? I just stalled out. Um, Now, next up is, well, the walking, talking gun platform. And that would be the Sentry Bot. The Sentry Bot, right here, you can see how it's a nightmare. It has strength 8 for its heavy weapons, so that means it only misses on a 9 and 10. So it's hitting a lot with the heavy weapons that it carries, because missile weapons and miniguns are classified as heavy weapons. They have that 13 health that I was talking about. They're not really going to hit something in close combat, and surprise, surprise, they also can't go up steps. What's really cool, though, is you can fire both heavy weapons in the same activation. Normally, you can't fire a heavy, like a heavy weapon multiple times, but the Sentry Bot, because it's a roving gun platform, is like, I got you. And of course, you have the battered one. Now, what's interesting about the battered version of it is it has 10 health, so it has less. It has less strength, so it's not going to hit as well. And it only has a missile launcher. Yes, it has an empty minigun, as it states on the card, but it's just a melee weapon. But hey, you're short on points. You need something to sit on an objective, or more importantly, area denial. The battered Sentry Bot is a way to go. I still prefer the regular Sentry Bot, simply because it can fire both heavy weapons, and you have both heavy weapons, and it has better armor. But sometimes you just need that cheaper thing, and also it's, again, a fun way to represent the Rust Devils if you so choose to. And yes, there is a Nuka World variant, as we have all, you know, probably played that nightmarish galactic zone area. And you have the Space Sentry Bot. Pretty much the exact same thing. This time it's equipped with two space lasers and a robot swipe, so it can actually get into combat. Again, a pretty solid standard one. That would be like your equivalent to like the battered version, the low level Space Sentry Bot, and then you have the Space Sentry Annihilator. This has the highest health of the robots, with an endurance of 15. It has a self-destruct. It also can fire multiple weapons. And my dear God, is this thing equipped. It has a space laser built in, which is actually not terrible. The good old-fashioned missile launcher, a mortar launcher, and the robot swipe. So it can engage in close combat. And this one has agility 4. So, I mean, it's still not a high chance of hitting something, but you can still do it worst case scenario. And that's kind of cool. Now, I've talked a little bit about melee. Let's talk about the best, well, what I like to think is one of the best melee robots there is, and that is the Assaultron. Well, I mean, it's from Fallout 4, the nightmare fuel. At least for me when I first started playing. I mean, man, that was rough. But as you can see here, it can be made ready for free, which is a fantastic ability, so you don't have to waste options in that. It has endurance 10, so it's quite tanky. It does have hard armor. It's agility 6, so it's not terrible. But the cool part is, yes, there is a battered version, which I'm going to get into in a moment. But the Assaultron head laser is automatically equipped on it. And while I didn't put on the Assaultron swipe, I wanted to take a second to discuss the Assaultron laser. It's one black, one red, pretty decent range. It is firepower, with the energy, it does 3 damage. And what's kind of cool is after each action, except for shooting, add a token, if no friendly enemy is in line of sight. Otherwise, remove a token. When primed, immediately shoot, no action, then remove all tokens. So what does that mean? If the Assaultron keeps kind of running around the battlefield, and as long as you don't have any non-friendlies around you, well, actually, basically you run around just like inside the game, and it charges up. And then you fire. So you get a free shot. So you run twice, and you have the laser ready to go second it sees someone. Now the battered laser is definitely a little not as good, but again, it's still a solid robot. This time only 8 health, an agility of 5. It's not going to hit with the laser as well. The laser is a little less damaging. But overall, I kind of like the Assaultron. When it comes to using the Assaultron with the available factions, in with the Enclave, I usually prefer the Deathclaw just because it's a Deathclaw and you can take them. But the Assaultron is definitely probably better worth the caps overall. I think it's a really, really good thing. And now, speaking about Assaultrons, we also have the Imposter Speech Squatch. It's a legendary robot. There's 2 versions of it, just kind of like how Frank Horrigan works. That if you take one version, you've got to take both, or if you take the more damaged one, you can just take that one. Just like the regular Soltron, it can, be readied for free, which is fantastic. These are actually around the same point cost as them. The Siege Squatch 2 actually is the one with self-destruct, so you got to be a little mindful of that. And then, they both have the head lasers. They can move for free. Their speed is actually okay. Overall, I really, really like the Sheep Squatch. The problem is I just really can't see it like in how I like to play robots. It's usually just not something that I would use. I prefer, again, like the classic robots, Securitrons, and the like. Well, actually, now that we've mentioned Securitrons, let's take a look at them. The Securitron is an absolute fun robot to use, and I've never really thought them as being like too powerful. They got the Mark Ones are a little bit cheaper than the Mark Twos. Surprise, surprise. They just got a Gatling laser and a Securitron SMG. So it's just like that first one you face in the game when you're asking for the credit check. You know, Decentish shooting, decentish melee, 3-3. It kind of does its thing. It's got 8 health. It's actually a little quicker. Not bad. Now, let's take a look at the Mark II. The Mark II comes with up to any 2 weapons with the Securitron title. There's actually quite a few. There's a missile launcher, a laser gun. Like, you get a lot of really solid options with it. I really like the Mark II, but again, you are paying for these upgrades. It does have 1 more endurance. It has better perception. It has better agility, so it can actually fight. And its armor, while technically it's only armor 2, it's because it has that hardened armor. I find that a lot more useful. And what's also kind of cool is during activation and when not engaged, it may use 1 action, counting as use expertise. It can repair itself. So you have to take a expertise action, and then you remove 1 health. That's really, really good. So that 9 health can potentially become 12 to 13 health, depending on how often you do the repairs. And as you can see, like, robots are relatively tanky. It's something that I quite enjoy about them. And as I was saying, you can see a lot of flexibility with them. Now, least but not least, we have the Robo Brain. The Robo Brain is kind of terrifying. I mean, not just in lore. So the Robo Brain is, it's got some decent equipment. It has a Robo Brain laser, which we're pretty much common firing from the hands. It can take the RoboBrain Mesotron. I mean, it comes equipped with it. It comes equipped with the arms, and it comes with the robot laser. So it's kind of built into the set weapons. It does have the ability to move for free. Its endurance is only of 8 because remember there is a brain in a glass jar. But the Mesotron itself is pretty cool. What it does is you essentially roll a blue die, and it doesn't do any damage. Um, and you can only fire it like once per activation. But depending on what you roll on the blue die, as you can see, affects your opponent's actions. So it kind of like stalls you out a bit, which is kind of cool. Unfortunately, no, it doesn't blow up heads. And then one more thing, there are some named characters that are added in. Oh, well, besides Edie, you have Codsworth. Your good butler from Fallout 4. He's got purified water, which is kind of cool. When activated, add 1 cap to this unit. If none are present, any friendly non-robot may use this via sharing, and then can remove 1 health. So he can kind of like repair people, heal people, not repair, near them. Reception is 8 for searching items. He actually can hack, just like most of the other Mr. Handies, which I really don't picture that buzzsaw being useful on a keyboard. But, I mean, these are things. Because he is a Mr. Handy, he comes with the buzzsaw and the flamer kind of stocked in. Not bad. Now, Nira is really weird. I believe I'm pronouncing that right. As she is seen in Nuka World, unfortunately, you're not going to get the sarcastic comments or the raider hack jobs on her. She's not that awesome, but if you did want to have fun with like a Nuka World themed force, why not throw her in? And like I kind of think that's a really awesome aspect of how the robots are, because it's really about like telling a narrative more than truly kind of like, okay, this is the best option, this is the best option here, but it kind of lets you continue in that narrative nature that I was talking about before. So you have the battered robots, you've got the non-battered versions, you got the Nuka World versions. If you want to represent a raiders from the pit, you can use the battered robots and then the utility protectrons. You've got options, and that's just something that's really really cool, even though the faction is very limited within the units that you have access to. But don't see that limitation as a negative thing, because again, the robot faction is about having fun and exploring a narrative. Now, you could do, run one dude and 2 sentry bots and have no friends. I've been tempted to do that twice, but I am convinced the people that I play with would throw me off the Brooklyn Bridge. Uh, but it's just about having fun and having a good time. I am going to be going over to our army lists in a moment. One of them is actually going to be themed around uh, Fallout New Vegas, using the Courier 6 and Edie, and the other one is using the Mechanist. Yes, the Mechanist actually has rules. And what's kind of weird is I didn't put him inside of the unit options, because he's not a part of the, or her, depending on which Mechanist you're going to use, isn't actually a part of the robot faction, but is a part of the survivors faction. That said, the Mechanist gets a lot of benefits for the robot faction. I mean, it's a dude, it's a person that is dedicated to robots and, is based off of a comic book character in universe. Surprise, surprise. All right, well, let's get on to the army lists. All right, so we're going to start off discussing the Fallout New Vegas themed list. Generally, the list, as you can see here, is made up of, well, the Courier, Edie, 2 Securitrons, and a Mr. Gutsy. The Courier is going to be built as a sniper and a medic for the robots and designed to play objectives. Edie is doing Edie things. The Securitrons are built with more armor, and then the Mr. Gutsy is made to operate by itself and run around, kind of be obnoxious. Let's take a look at how I equipped the courier. And mind you, these are just example lists. You don't have to play these. These are just me having fun. So, the courier, I have equipped with he comes stock with a companion, or they come stock with a companion perk, which Edie is being selected as the companion. You have heavy combat armor, giving you that 4/4. The first recon beret, which makes the gun skill when they go to take a shot, they are going to be at reception 7. But it's only with rifles. You do gain one crit token, so that's kind of cool. And on one weapon, and you also get one additional green die, which you can use for anything. I gave the courier the anti-material rifle, which is a unique weapon. I really felt like, you know what's more Fallout New Vegas for the courier to take than the anti-material rifle. I also gave as a backup weapon, because the anti-material rifle you can only fire once per turn, and it does have a minimum range. I equipped the courier with a 12.7 millimeter pistol with a hardened receiver. I did that to kind of represent that gun, the famed gun made to look like Deckard's gun from Blade Runner. But I know I don't think it's a 12.7 millimeter pistol, but I really wanted to oh, it's a 5.56 pistol. But I wanted to represent like the stopping power of the 12.7 millimeter pistol. By the way, if I got that which legendary pistols wrong, please let me know in the comments. Mistakes happen. I then gave the courier a machete gladius with superior materials. I know the machete is more kind of, that gladius is kind of more of a Legion thing, but again, Legion, Fallout New Vegas, trying to go with the theme here. So to be a part of the robot controller, part of the robot force, I gave it the robot controller command perk, as you can see here, and I also gave the courier the robot experts expert perk. Now, on top of that, the courier is equipped with 2 robot repair kits to keep the robots operating, and then, as I like to call it, the emergency healing, which is the robot repair patch. And then the courier themselves have a stim pack and honey mesquite. Something I should mention is that when the courier is doing like skill tests, so when they're doing the intelligence, if they for some reason have a free action token, they can switch that out for a green, black, or yellow die, which I think is like really helpful for the hacking capabilities, because again, the courier is here to snipe and do objectives. Then let's follow up with Edie. Edie just has welded plate, nothing really that exciting outside of that, and then the iBot Tesla cannon, which Edie comes already equipped with. Again, Edie's there for the companion perk. Next up is the Securitron Mark 1, equipped with the Securitron Gatling laser, and the Securitron SMG. I gave the Securitrons, because there is 2 of them, welded plate and the subroutine combat analysis, which means the Securitron can gain benefits from having the critical perk, because without being heroic or having something that grants you criticals, you can't use the criticals. You've got to have the ability to access it, even though every weapon has it within Fallout Wasteland Warfare. Finishing out the list is the Mr. Gutsy. The Mr. Gutsy is pretty simple. They're combat oriented, so for the 3 Mr. Handy weapons, it has a Mr. Handy Buzzsaw for that melee action. It had, which, oh yeah, agility 7, so it can actually fight in close combat. I have the Mr. Handy Laser, and I have the Mr. Handy Plasma Pistol. Now, the reason why I have both of those ranged weapons is because, one, I really like plasma weaponry because it's whichever armor is weaker is how you deal the damage, and I like having that black die, and it's also the range variations between the hand laser and the plasma pistol kind of gives you the ability to pick. Again, you'll see a welded plate to give it that additional um, hardened armor tokens, which means the first shot that the Mr. Gutsy is going to take or damage throughout the game is going to be a 2 armor plus 2, so it automatically blocks 2 armor, and then the second shot is going to do the same thing. So it makes the Mr. Gutsy a lot more durable, and when you consider the eye damage, you kind of want to avoid that as much as possible. I also gave it a bowler cap. As you remember that, as everyone should remember, that was introduced in Fallout 4 for the Mr. And Mrs. series. I have my Codsworth always wearing one when I've used Codsworth. And then the Mr. Handy Fuel. The reason why that's in there is for that free move, because I really, really want to take the ability of getting that Mr. Gutsy going around and kind of being a problem. Now, fun fact, the Mr. Gutsy can also be used to hack terminals, so it's a backup objective player. But really, I kind of want firepower taken away from the two Securitrons. Even though I know that those Securitrons are probably going to get blasted as quickly as possible, if not the courier, because no one really wants to be taking hits from a anti-material rifle. Now, I could have switched out the pistol that he's carrying for the Ranger Sequoia to really, really go that NCR kind of aiding courier, but I decided to go with the 12.7 pistol instead because to me that feels like that gun, and I pretty much always use that gun in the game because, it's the Blade Runner gun, and it's kind of cool. But yeah, that's my Fallout New Vegas themed list. Next up is the Mechanists list. And now we discuss the Mechanist themed list. Now what's kind of cool is the Mechanist is or can be used to represent any of the Mechanist characters, being that of Scott Bean Wolanowski, I think I pronounced that right, or even Mayor Murphy from the old radio program, or Isabel Cruz. Realistically, it's either Isabel Cruz or Sean, which is kind of cool. I really like the ambiguous of that character because it's more representing the armor than the individual. So it can even represent someone else in the wasteland that has found or made the armor inspired by the old radio programs. That said, within the list, I have the Mechanist built more as a commander than a fighter. Just I really want to represent that the Mechanist is not the best in combat, but is more controlling the robots. Because that's what the Mechanist does. He uses the robots to fight for them. The list is made up of a Sentry Bot, Heavy Weapons Online, made to pull fire from the rest of the list and be a troublemaker slash trouble solver. It's made to really bring in those heavy weapons. Then we have a Mr. Gutsy, surprise, surprise, and it's there to support the Sentry Bot or the Mechanist in a combat support role or just doing its own thing. Which realistically, with this list and the limited models, you really want it in that support role. Next up, I have a Protectron, which is kind of designed to be a force support model, not really like an individual combat model, and it's designed to take hits off of the Sentry Bot. And I'm going to go into that a little bit more. So first things first, let's look at the Mechanist themselves. So the Mechanist is going to be equipped with, obviously, the Mechanist armor and helmet, which doesn't really give you the best armor, but it's kind of fun. It increases your charisma range to black, which is going to be really, really important. And it's going to be, gives you access to crits. And then you actually get armor of 2+1 for both the physical slash ballistic damage and the energy damage. Not the best armor, but it's not that terrible. Now, the Mechanist does only have 4 health, but there's ways to adjust that. This Mechanist is going to be armed with the Protectron Gaze and the Mr. Handy Buzz Blade, as per how the model's armed. Now, both the Mechanist armor and helmet and Protectron Gaze are legendary items, so they can't be modified. But the Mr. Handy Buzz Blade can be modified, and that I put superior materials. So that way it's got a melee ability of a 5 instead of a 3, so if it gets hit, it can fight. And again, Mechanist does not want to be getting shot at. I have made the Mechanist heroic, so you can get that extra health, a little extra quick actions, so you can be moving around. I also gave this Mechanist a baseball grenade. Realistically, why that's there is to provide support, like, oh no, a hound's getting close, or oh no, there's 2 hounds getting close. Instead of shooting them with the Protectron Gaze, let's just use one baseball grenade instead. Plus, grenades can be fun. Now, you will notice that I didn't put any of the perks there. So the Mechanist is also going to have a stim pack to keep the Mechanist alive. Yes, I'm overpaying for the stim pack because I only have 5 health, but it's really more to repair any critical damages. Now, again, don't forget, you can always, this is just example lists, you can always do what you want to do. I then have a robot repair kit, a single one, and then 2 robot repair patches. Now, you'll notice that I am missing a few cards, and I'm going to go over those right now and some of the modifications to them based on wearing the Mechanist's armor. So, the first robot perk you take is, that I took was Program Act. When a robot activates, may be given, so when the robot controller activates, you can give an unready robot within red range, which, because the Mechanist armor is now black range from the Mechanist, a ready token. The next robot perk is Program Spread. This one I actually kind of like. Any robots within red range, which again, because of the Mechanist's armor, is going to now be black range. May immediately perform a quick action to move directly away from the Mechanist slash robot controller via the shortest route. Now this can only be used once per the robot controller's activation. I really like this because it basically gives you turn 1 a free move with all of your robots if you activate the Mechanist first. Or you can kind of do it as the game progresses, so you can really put that pressure on, and it gives the Sentry Bot a lot more intimidation because now it just moved for free. And then in its activation, it's going to move again, and then it's going to fire its weapons. Really, really putting on that heavy firepower option. Then, another robot perk I wanted to give it is the Program Volley. The robot controller may perform a use expertise action for any engaged robot within red range, because that's the base Mechanist's range. But again, remember that Mechanist armor changes it to black range. May perform a shoot quick action and then gains a stun token. So there is a negative, but there is also a positive, meaning that, oh, you're in close with my Sentry Bot. Guess what? It's going to open fire point blank range. Usually with the minigun because of walking fire, but it can also just rocket launcher point blank range. Now this, just like the Program Spread, can only be used once per robot controller's activation. So you really have to figure where you want to use that ability. Now, next up is going to be obviously the Sentry Bot, or as I like to call it, Guns Ablazing. For this version, it has the missile launcher and minigun, which again, crowd control or Kraken armor. Realistically, you're going to be using the missile launcher to engage other large targets and the minigun to clean up any weaker foes. I did give it the subroutine combat analysis, which gives it access to criticals. So now all of a sudden that missile launcher becomes so much more, and I mean so much more lethal. And then welded plate. This is where my friend Alejandro is probably going to throw me off the Brooklyn Bridge, as I stated earlier. I gave it welded plate, which gives it 2 hard armor tokens. So that first shot is 3 plus 2 for hard armor. So you're going to ignore the first 2 damage, and then the next shot it's going to ignore another damage. So this thing's going to be tanking damage. Now, yes, it might only, depending on dice rolls, like if I get hit with a chainsaw, I'm still going to be in Pain Town. I'm still going to get damaged up, but again, it's that survivability you want on that robot. Next up is going to be the Mr. Gutsy. Pretty much equipped the same way, except for here I gave it the subroutine quick, which gives it the ability to make a quick action for a move or charge. Trying to go off of that mobility, which is also, this is where the spread mechanic can become really, really useful. And again, welded plate, boulder cap, the Mr. Handy Fuel. Should talk about that a little bit. Nor it does add a black die to a Mr. Handy's Flamer. I'm not running a Mr. Handy's Flamer because of its other ability, which I can use it to get a free movement during their action. So again, let's talk about it for a second. I get to move twice, red for free. Well, I one action, I move, red, get myself up there, and then I can attack with one of the weapons, and then I can use spread to get it to move free, or use spread, get that free movement, use the Mr. Handy Fuel, move again, and then move again, like do 2 movements during its activation, and then open up with a weapon. Now, again, the Mr. Handy Fuel is a one use only, but it's totally, totally worth it. Now let's look at that Sentry Bot that I was talking about. Well, actually, not the Sentry Bot. We already discussed it. Let's talk about the Protectron. The Protectron's pretty simple. Basically, Robbie the Robot came to play. Again, welded plate. Protectrons actually have a lot of armor, even though they're not the best combatant. But what I did here was I actually gave it the sensor array. And this is how it kind of supports the force. Friendly models gain +2 perception. Not itself, but it's within green. Everything gets +2 perception, which makes shooting for some of these units much more useful. Normally, I would throw this Protectron with a sensory array in more of like a survivor's force or some of the other forces that have access to Protectrons, because I think that additional sensor array is amazing. Who knows? Maybe throw it on a battered one and see where it goes. But yeah, so that is the Mechanists list. Something I do want to talk about is the Mechanist has a really cool ability where you get 3 robot perks for free and the robotic expert for free. Now, I didn't include it here. It is on the career list example, but you're saving about 41 caps by taking the Mechanist. That's huge, and that's basing off of the perks that I chose. Again, these are just example lists. I hope everyone enjoyed this. I know I enjoyed it, and now I'm going to talk about units that I feel like should be in the game, various named characters, and my kind of opinions that aren't related to the units and things that are active within the faction. And now, on to my comments and missing units that I'd like to see added in. The first thing I would like to say is that, as I've made relatively apparent throughout the video, so I really do feel like the robot faction, due to how the leader can be from any faction, really does allow you to have a lot of fun. It really, really opens up the faction to a lot of cool things. That said, the faction, as I've shown, has a limited selection of units, and yeah, that's kind of a downside. Now, there are a few named units that I would like to see added into the game, and I'll go over those pretty quickly. The first one is, well, it's more of a supercomputer, which again I said I wasn't going to discuss, but, the supercomputer is Skynet. Skynet is a companion that the Chosen One in Fallout 2 can acquire as a companion. Skynet is actually kind of a cool companion because depending on what you do affects Skynet's combat capabilities, and there's a really lot that you can do with Skynet, but it's also, a robo brain companion. Um, and he's not completely psychotic. And yes, it does share the name with Cyberdyne Systems computer from the Terminator franchise, but not the same thing. Um, there really is like kind of one way to represent Skynet inside of the game, even though I'd really like to see him in the game, would be to take a RoboBrain and give it the heroic perk, and you can kind of go from there. Um, that said, something I do want to mention really fast is that so far there's only been two people added in to Wasteland Warfare from Fallout 2 and the earlier Fallout games, which is something I'm hoping we'll see expanded down the line, and that is, of course, Frank Horrigan and Marcus. Even though Marcus is seen more as a Fallout New Vegas expansion upgrade, but yeah. Then we have moving on is Victor. Victor, I'm honestly a little surprised is not in the game. Nor is Yes Man. Victor though and Yes Man I think would be a real challenge to like how do you add abilities really to each one of them because Victor's sole job is like getting you to Mr. House and being Mr. House's envoy, while Yes Man is Yes Man. Um, I will state this: that is something I do like and dislike about the Protectron not the Protectron. Wow, wrong robot. Securitron kit is that it does come with face plates, so you can switch them out. And Yes Man is one of them. I'm a little sad in that it doesn't give you some of the other face plates, but you know, pick and choose. You can always get a faceplate 3D printed and put in, or shave off the already sculpted face and use a decal or something of that nature. I am happy though that there are faceplates. Don't get me wrong, I'm super happy that they're there. The next thing I want to talk about, ironically enough, is also from Fallout New Vegas. I kind of stalled out there and I do apologize. Is Prim Slim. I think it'd be kind of funny to have Prim Slim just as a Protectron roaming around, with his cowboy hat, talking about how great Prim is, and just, being a sheriff. Well, depending on players' options. I think it'd be kind of fun to just have him there. Um, he doesn't have to be in the game as much as I would want Skynet. Skynet's definitely like the number one robot I want added in. The next would be the Humble Sergeant, Sergeant RL3. I thought he was a fun companion in Fallout 3. Yes, it's just a Mr. Gutsy, and yes, you can make him Mr. Gutsy equipped the same way, give him the heroic perk just so you can have a little bit of extra fun. I mean, that's not a bad idea, but I would just like to have him. One, voice actor was a famous guy. Um, it's a real shame that he's passed. I found him kind of a cool voice actor. Um, But, it's just another companion that I'd like to see added inside the game. And the funny thing is the Sergeant could be put into multiple factions as well. Survivors, robots, just kind of have a little fun with them. And then the next thing that I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen added in, but I do suspect they might be coming at a later point due to the amount of 76 content that has been added into Wasteland Warfare, is the Liberators. The Liberators, I'm not really sure how to do them, but I kind of think the best way to represent them would be doing something similar to how the Mirelurk hatchlings are handled, and the fact that the Mirelurk hatchlings are set up like a swarm. They remind me of the old Warhammer Fantasy Battle or slash Old World, as it's called now. Swarms like Snotling swarms, the Lizardmen's swarms, rat swarms for the Skaven. That's kind of how those models kind of remind me of. But I think the Liberators would be probably best represented that way, because they do just kind of swarm you. But I mean, these are just kind of some of the things I'd like to see. I know someone out there is going to be like, "Hey, what about Fisto?"
And I gotta be honest, man, it's Fisto. I don't think he needs to be added inside of the game. But if you want a Fisto in there, I mean, you do you, boo. I'm not here to restrict you. But yeah, so those are 6 units I'd like to see added inside the game. I hope you have all found this very informative. Next video might not be as long. I probably need to cut the time down a little bit. But I just want to say thank you for watching. If you think I missed anything I got wrong, or if you're not sure on, please leave a comment. It's how I create better content, how I work a little bit harder to provide people a better experience within Wasteland Warfare. Um, and if you liked the video, please like and subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. That slightly killed me inside, but you know, you gotta do it. Alright, everyone, have a terrific day.